Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, and plenty to get to on this hump day. What if Wednesday, 30 minutes from now? If you're following in the Bayou Ford chat there on YouTube, hit us up with what your what ifs are. We got some rolling in on Twitter right now. We'll hear a little bit of sound from Frank Wilson later on in the show. New Orleans Saints. What are the expectations for Tyler Shuck? We'll do that in hour number 2. JD Piquel will be with us in hour 2 as well. And our updated edition of the SEC Football Power Rankings will be at the bottom of hour number 2. So lots to do. Let's crank it up like we do every day. It's our Genesis Opening Drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, I want y'all to take this segment for what it is, not more than what it is, just what it is. This is not meant to be pessimistic. This is not meant to be anti or nega Tiger. This is purely kind of based on timing and just food for discussion. It's my opinion. It is not fact. So I'm just suggesting that if we try from October the 27th through November 30th, January 5th, January 19th, like if we try to do that and say, well, this guy's going to be the coach. Well, this guy might be the coach. Well, is this guy going to be the coach? Is he going to be the coach? That's going to be a lot of, is he going to be the coach? We got a long way to go before LSU hires another football coach. We've got a lot of things that have to happen in the background before LSU hires a football coach. So I just can't bring myself to do I'm on 10 hours a week. I can't do 7 hours a week. What if this guy's the coach? What if this guy's the coach? What if this guy's the coach? And go through every single candidate. I just feel like that's going to be a lot. It's just my opinion. Y'all are in text message change, no doubt. Y'all are talking at the dinner table, at the restaurant, on the golf course, at church, on the fishing hole, in the deer stand. Maybe you can't. You can talk in the deer stand? Can you talk in the deer stand? I don't know. I've never been in a deer stand. There's talk going on. A lot of talk going on about the coaching deal. So the point that I made this morning when I filed my column at LouisianaSports.net was, here are some names that are popping up, and I just don't think so. I don't think they're going to be the next coach at LSU. So put together 5 guys that I don't think are going to be the next coach of LSU, and I told you why. Trust me, y'all are well aware. I'm wrong all the time. This is my opinion. I don't think these 5 guys are coming. The first has been brought up a lot. He coached here. Did pretty well. Won a championship. I'm told, pretty good coach. He's not coming here. It's Nick Saban. Nick Saban is not coming here for a number of reasons. He turns 74 years old on Friday. He walked away from his job at Alabama. By the way, almost won the national semifinal and then walked away. And he walked away, and he said since that he didn't like the transactional nature of the players saying they wanted more money. They still do. He didn't love the fact that the players could just come and say, hey, I'm going to transfer. They still do. And he said he couldn't work the hours that he needed to do the job to his standard. I don't think 2 years after he said that, he's found some sort of magical fountain of youth. I get that even if Nick Saban was hired somewhere this year, it would not be with the intention that he was going to work 8 to 10 more years. It would be a 3 to 4 year deal. And because of the transfer portal and the fact that you can overhaul your roster immediately and the fact that he would command a lot of respect and a lot of people want to come play for him, he could probably have a pretty good season the first year. I just don't think he's doing it. And if he does come back and coach, I think it's going to be in the NFL, where he's got a roster, he's got a quarterback, he's got a general manager, and the hours aren't as much, and he's not babysitting. I don't see it. I don't see Nick Saban coming back to the NIL, transfer portal world, and pressure cooker of the SEC that requires all those hours of recruiting and recruiting your own roster and do it, everything that's involved in it. I don't think he's doing it at 74 years old. I just don't. I don't think Nick Saban is going to be the head coach at LSU. Here's my take on this. You can be one side of this or the other. Here's where I am on the Nick Saban thing. I think it's no chance. I'm willing to go out and say I think it's no chance. Again, I've been wrong plenty of times. It just doesn't make sense to me. Here's next up. This is a name that gets brought up a lot. This is a name that a lot of people really want to come to LSU. I don't think it's happening. I think it's Dan Lanning, head coach at Oregon. You could put him in the discussion with Kirby Smart and Ryan Day like atop the sport. Now, Ryan Day's got a national championship. Kirby Smart's got multiple national championships. Dan Lanning does not. But he's got a team that's really good every year. He's got a team that recruits like crazy. They're relevant. Last year, he's probably the second best team in the country. Got a terrible draw because Ohio State lost to Michigan, and Ohio State went out there and beat them. But they're good again this year. He's got a really passionate fan base. That's important. He's got a really talented roster. That's important. He's got the mega booster. That's really important. And he's got everything you could want at Oregon. And they don't have the relentless expectation that a multi-time national championship program has. Like, Oregon expects him to win a national championship at some point. But, like, if you keep knocking on the door, Oregon likes that. They're happy with that. He becomes a legend doing that if he sits there and does it long enough. And the odds are he probably breaks through and wins one. Why leave that situation where you've got a booster with endless funds, almost literally, not literally, but almost literally endless funds. You've got a program that's humming. You're recruiting very well. You're in a conference that prints money. Like, the only thing I can think of for Dan Lanning that Oregon's not great for is it's really hard to get to for the recruits, and it's really hard to get to and get out of to go play. You got to fly across the country to go play conference games. But what's an extra 90 minutes on the plane on Friday and on Sunday? Like, I think he'll live. So I just don't see LSU as being a significant step up from Dan Lanning's current position. They're going to pay him. They're going to pay the roster. They've got the facilities. They've got the fan base. They're in the conference. Like, if Oregon and LSU were both kind of at the same level, kind of mediocre, if Oregon was where LSU is right now and LSU is where LSU is right now, and you're the head coach at Georgia Tech and you're deciding which job to take, like, I can see you taking LSU, but Lanning's already got Oregon where it is. I just don't see it. I don't think Dan Lanning's the next coach at LSU. Joe Brady's gotten tossed about a bunch. Joe Brady's 36 years old. He has never been a head coach in his life. NFL coordinators make about $2 million annually. LSU can do a lot better than that. He can make a lot more money than that. But he's never hired a staff. He's never run a practice. And oh, by the way, he's currently coaching the most talented quarterback in the NFL. There are going to be opportunities for him at the NFL level that doesn't require recruiting, that doesn't require babysitting 19-year-olds that think they deserve more money, that doesn't involve traveling all over the country, do that recruiting, and then running camps and handling the NIL structure and dealing with the boosters who want this and that. He's got Josh Allen. And if he keeps putting up points with Josh Allen, somebody's going to hire him to be the coach of an NFL team, or he still don't have to babysit 19-year-olds. I feel like Joe Brady is not a great fit for LSU. I would be very skeptical of that hire from an LSU perspective. And I feel like it's just not the direction he wants to take things. Joe Brady did an awesome job here at LSU. But teaching Steve Ensminger to spread the field is not the same as running LSU's football program. And I just don't see Joe Brady abandoning the situation he's in to come to LSU and run the entire operation. Because you see how quickly things can go south. You get paid a lot of money. And look, for the Lanning thing, travel makes sense. For the Brady thing, money makes sense. I just don't think the big picture makes sense. And I'm kind of on that same page with Kelvin Shepherd. Tiger, great. An absolute great at LSU. Was the heart and soul of a couple John Chavis defenses. Then he came after his long NFL career and worked on Ed Orgeron's staff as a director of development. Didn't get a job on the field, so he went to the NFL. Went to the last place he played, Detroit. And they gave him a chance. And now he's 37. He's running a defense for a 5-2 team. And again, it's the same thing as Brady. Like, he's with a really stable organization that just lost both coordinators is winning a lot of games still. I'm sure it's a pretty comfortable place to work in terms of the environment that Dan Campbell has created there. And he's never done it before. So if you're LSU, do you want to hire a guy who's never done anything like this to come do it at his alma mater just because he played here and his defense has played really well for 7 weeks? I don't know about that. Joe Brady and Kelvin Shepherd are so green in the coaching world. This is a big, big job, a big, big operation. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense for Kelvin Shepherd to come down and do this, or for LSU to think that Kelvin Shepherd is the guy when he's never done anything like this. Those are my top 4. I got one more. Saban, no. Lanning, no. Brady, no. Shepherd, no. 5th, Frank Wilson. Let me talk to you about Frank Wilson, because you know, his Louisiana ties run deep. Loves the state of Louisiana, loves LSU. He's been a head coach at 2 different places. Record, not great. He's worked at Ole Miss. He's worked at Tennessee. He's the interim head coach now that's charged with keeping this group together as they move forward. Every single thing I just laid out to you applies to Ed Ogeron. Been a head coach elsewhere, from Louisiana, deep Louisiana ties, loves LSU, worked at Ole Miss, worked at Tennessee, interim head coach. It's the whole thing. And I just don't think LSU is going to go down that road. I think Frank is a massive asset to this football program. And I don't want to suggest, in the same way I don't want to suggest to Kelvin Shepherd or Joe Brady, can't do the job. I just don't think it's the best fit, to use that bad term, at this time. I think LSU needs a reset and to move in a completely different direction. And right now, I think if that new direction doesn't involve Frank Wilson on the staff, it's foolish. I think whoever comes in next needs to understand the errors that Brian Kelly made in running off some key parts of this program. Frank Wilson absolutely is that. But he was 26-40 at UTSA and McNeese. I don't see a lot to suggest he's going to have LSU knocking on the playoffs door from that. Now, it was a different era, different time, different programs, different everything. UTSA was an upstart. McNeese is FCS. I get it. It's not the same. It's not apples to apples. But I think Frank's job here is to keep this program on the rails right now, try to keep some of these guys committed, hopefully keep his office when the new coach comes in, and keep making LSU better. Because Frank Wilson's made LSU better his first time around here as assistant coach, this time around as assistant coach, and now as an interim head coach. He'll make LSU better. But I don't think he's going to be the head coach at LSU next time around. So that's my 5 that I just don't see being LSU's next head coach. Nick Saban, Dan Lanning, Joe Brady, Kelvin Shepherd, Frank Wilson. I could be dead wrong. And I'm probably, if I'm dead wrong, will come back to this segment and play the audio when the guy is to the podium and go, look how stupid this guy is. But that's what I think right now. I think that the LSU coach right now is a head coach somewhere that's winning games. And that does not apply to Nick Saban. It does apply to Dan Lanning, but I don't think he's the guy. It doesn't apply to Joe Brady. It doesn't apply to Kelvin Shepherd, and it doesn't apply to Frank Wilson. I think that the next head coach is a head coach who's winning games currently. I don't think it's Dan Lanning. That's where I am. That's our opening drive. Brought to you by Genesis of Baton Rouge. We're brought to you on Wednesdays by Renaissance Homes and Pools. You can check them out at builtbyrenaissance.com. Builtbyrenaissance.com. We will step aside. When we come back, let's hear a little bit of sound from Ed Ogeron. Ed Ogeron, what? Well, he was asked, would you come back to LSU as the head coach? Would you come back to LSU as an assistant if one of your colleagues took that job? Coach O had answers. We'll give it to you next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is that website. They are on Segan near Perkins. Awesome spots. Just go hang out, hit some golf shots. Ton of fun. I've done it multiple times over the last few weeks. You go in, you get in that private bay. There's comfortable seating there. There's a television there, and they've got the golf simulator all fired up for you. You can just hang out with your buddies, drink a couple of cold beers. They got seltzers. They got wine. Unwind a little bit. Put the simulator on Pebble Beach. Put the simulator on TPC Sawgrass. Put it on TPC of New Orleans, if you might have played, which hosts a PGA Tour event. You can hit some shots, play some holes. It involves putting. You hit your chip shots as well. See how far you can drive it. All your stats are there. It's just a great place to go hang out indoors, control climate. It's a gorgeous fall day right now. We know all the days around here aren't gorgeous. Some hot, some cold. It's about to get dark early starting next week. Everything's controlled at Swing Easy Golf Club. Go hang out and hit some golf balls. SwingEasyGCBR.com. They are on Segan at Perkins. Swing Easy Golf Club. SwingEasyGCBR.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
First, real day that feels like fall out there. I got sleeves on, had the kiddo in a jacket this morning. It actually feels like fall today. It really won't this weekend when the high's up in the 70s, near 80 degrees. But it pretty well signifies pool season's about over. So your time to get into a pool this year is about done, as we're in November here in South Louisiana. But if you want to make sure that next springtime, certainly next summer, you've got that pool of your dreams, right now is the time to start having those conversations with Renaissance Homes and Pools. Joey Blanchard, just an awesome guy to work with. He's the owner of the company. He's helped dozens and dozens of people in Baton Rouge put that pool of their dreams in. So if you're looking to get into that pool and want to do it with somebody that's local, that's going to be there every step of the way, be there for the consultation, be there for the design, be there for the dig, be there for the fill, be there for the finish, all the way through, you'll be able to get in touch with them. Joey is that guy. So go start your process built by Renaissance today. See some of the great designs, the pools that they've done. You can customize it to whatever your specs are, whatever stage of life you're in. But he's happy to make that dream a reality for you. Get into it for next spring and summer. It's built by Renaissance.com. Renaissance Homes and Pools, they bring you our Wednesday shows. All right, what if Wednesday in 10 minutes? This is some interesting stuff. Unsportsmanlike morning show here, ESPN Radio National. Evan Cohen had Ed Ogeron on the show today. And he answered some questions very truthfully about what's going on at LSU and potentially the future at LSU. And Evan Cohen didn't mince words. He asked Ed Ogeron, hey, would you consider returning as the head coach of LSU? I don't think you'll have to guess what Ed Ogeron had to say, but here it is.
Do you want to be the next LSU head coach?
Oh, I'd love to. You kidding me? I'm one phone call away. Hey, I just got to get in my truck. I'll be back. I could be there today.
If someone specifically became the head coach, would you be willing to be his assistant? And that someone is someone you've been close with and worked with, Lane Kiffin. Would you ever go back to be an assistant?
Yeah, I'd consider it. I love LSU. I still got my home in Baton Rouge. I love when I coached with Coach Miles, being the defensive line coach. I love the Tigers, and I'm getting back to coaching. For sure, I consider it. No doubt.
It's interesting. Hey, if nothing less, I'll tell you this. From this seat where I do interview people time to time, it's a good question by Evan Cohen. And he got a real truthful answer from Ed Ogeron. Yeah, I'd be the head coach at LSU. I love LSU. Well, how about this? Because, you figure Ed Ogeron's probably not going to be the hire. That's just a guess from my part, thinking probably not going to be the hire. But it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that Lane Kiffin would take this job. Not completely out of the realm of possibility. And Ed Ogeron tried to hire Lane Kiffin in 2016 into 17. He tried to, but Kiffin was at Bama. He ended up getting the Florida Atlantic job and didn't come, and that's when LSU scrambled and ended up with Matt Canada. But those two guys have worked hand in hand at Southern Cal, worked hand in hand at Tennessee, have a great relationship, and Kiffin was going to come work here at LSU and leave Alabama for it, but he got the head job. I can't tell you it's completely out of the question if Lane Kiffin took this job that Ed Ogeron would be an assistant here. And it wouldn't be completely unprecedented. We just watched Bobby Petrino become the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. We just saw that. So it's fascinating to look at. And, Ed Ogeron was the toast of this place in 2019. Then things soured a little bit in 20, and they went completely off the rails in 21. I'll tell you this, there would be some mixed emotions around this place with Ed Ogeron coming back. And I think he's a really good defensive line coach. I think he's a really good recruiter. I think he knows the state of Louisiana very well. And none of those were problems when he was the head coach here. And if you tell me that he's going to be here to run camps and to coach defensive linemen and to build relationships with high school coaches and 18-year-olds, he's pretty good at it. It surprised me to hear that, though, because you realize, like, when a place takes your dream away, it's hard to feel like you can go back to that. But you'll hear in some sound we're going to play here a little bit later that he appears open to that, which kind of surprised me a little bit. You hear coaches all the time answer questions like that with, would you come back and say, well, I would never speculate on anything like that. I'm interested in coming back to coaching, and whatever opportunity presents itself, I'll certainly take a look at it. That's not what he said. He said, oh, I consider that. Yeah, absolutely. I love LSU. So there's Coach O potentially being the head coach here, or coming to work for Lane Kiffin on the defensive side of the ball. Now, there was more in this interview on Unsportsmanlike on ESPN Radio about the expectations at LSU, and Ed Ogeron talked about what Brian Kelly ran into.
The expectations at LSU is to win a national championship. And the pressure starts to rise around the third year. And they give you time to give you the facilities, they give you the money that you need. And if you don't reach that, there's going to be some rumblings. But you can see the team had regressed, having 3 losses in the conference. And what Texas A&M did to LSU at Tiger Stadium at night, and then what they did after, was an embarrassment to me, all the state of Louisiana. I'm not blaming Brian Kelly. It just the whole thing has seemed to unravel and fall apart. So I think that's the reason.
There's something to unpack there. When he said that's an embarrassment to me, I said the same thing. Now, I'm an LSU alum. I do the pre and post game for LSU. I've been a fan my entire life. LSU has never harmed me in any way in terms of firing me. And then you've got the side that, it's the whole deal, like when your girlfriend breaks up with you, you don't want her to do better than you. And so there's a part of you that kind of roots against things once you're out of the picture. And Ed Ogeron has gone on this media tour. He's gone and done the whole Barstool thing. He was at the Ryder Cup, with Roback. He's going on ESPN Radio's national broadcast there. And, I don't know exactly how Ed Ogeron feels about the whole thing. I don't know Ed Ogeron. But it was interesting to hear him say that. And then my wheels start turning like, does he really mean that because he's a deep Louisiana guy who doesn't want to see Texas A&M dancing on LSU's grave? Or is there a part of him that just wants to take a little shot at the coach who was hired to do a lot better than him that did not do a lot better than him? I'll never know. I don't really care. It's an interesting thought. It doesn't really matter, quite frankly. But I felt the same way. I told you after the game on the postgame show, on Monday's show here, it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever watched in Tiger Stadium was to watch A&M do all that goofy stuff in that end zone while LSU couldn't compete with their team on the field. That was a low point. And, I think Ed Ogeron was certainly watching that. He didn't, however, agree or like the fact that Brian Kelly was fired in the middle of the season. He doesn't like any of those, and he kind of alluded to that in the interview as well.
I don't like it, okay? Think about the guys that worked hard all summer for their season. What about winning football games? What about finishing the season? Giving those guys a chance. And now we have all these jobs open, and all these kids are wondering, hey, where's my coach? What's going to happen? And kind of ruins the season for most kids. And I understand the pressures of the transfer portal, and I understand that people get sick and tired of the coach, but I wish that they would wait till the end of the season and let this thing play out.
I'm with him there. I really am. This is a me thing. This is a Hunt thing. I just don't like how quickly so many college football teams, quote unquote, check out. I don't like how quickly the season ends, and there's no good way to fix that, because I don't want the NCAA basketball tournament expanding to 115 teams, and I don't want the college football playoff to be 30 teams, because I do want the regular season to mean something, yes. But also the fact that we're just dumping coaches in September now, middle of October now, is just an indication of just how fast your goals fly off the table in college football. And it's something that I've talked about the last couple of days. I'm not going to belabor the point, but I do feel for the players who were essentially told in late September, mid-October, hey, by the way, nobody up in the administration gives a rip about what goes on the next couple of months. Like, we've already pulled the plug on your coach, pulled the plug on your season. Like, we're on to the next. And you can sit here and say, well, we actually fire them because we want them to get a new voice and give them a chance to feel a breath of fresh air before the end of the season. And I hear you here and there, but the point remains that the kids know that the program's moving in a different direction. And there are a lot of kids there that know that they're not going to be in Baton Rouge next year. And there are a lot of coaches who now know that they got to find a new job, and this is just a temporary placeholder situation. It's just an odd situation for everybody when the plug is pulled so early in this thing. But it happened with Les. It's happened with Brian Kelly. It happened with Ed Ogeron. Look around at Billy Napier and James Franklin and Trent Dilfer. Like, it's happening all over the country. And it's just a bummer. I just don't think that happens as much in baseball or basketball. Like, it happens in basketball, like it happens a little bit. In baseball, it really doesn't. But just like you to go out there and try to finish, try to compete. Now, hopefully LSU does that. There's probably a reason that Ogeron's really good interim coach, because he has that kind of mentality. And I think Frank Wilson shares a lot of that DNA as well. But it was an interesting interview with that Ogeron, who's open to a return to LSU. See if that ends up coming to pass. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. We'll come back with What If Wednesday next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Look, it's a luxury brand. It's a luxury experience at a reasonable price. So when I say luxury brand, luxury vehicle, you have some brands that pop up in your mind. Genesis should be right there among those lists. When you go by and see the dealership, Airline at PQ, and you get behind the wheel of one of these vehicles, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Right now, you're just taking my word for it, because most of you haven't been behind the wheel of a Genesis. But just make that choice to go check it out. Let one of their brand ambassadors help you. You know you're in one of the safest cars in the road. Every single model in the line is an IIHS top safety pick. And the people that you work with, the warranty that you get once you drive that car off the lot, are second to none. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find that inventory at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
What are the expectations for Tyler Shuck in his debut coming up on Sunday? We'll do that at 2 o'clock. J.D. Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports at 2:15. SEC Power Rankings coming up 1 hour from now. Right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right. Oh, make sure I get the sound right. Okay, so what if Tennessee baseball falls flat after losing Tony V?
Flat is, flat's probably fair. Fall flat indicates that the whole thing would fall apart. I don't think the whole thing will fall apart. They've got a alumni base and a booster base that's committed to spending some money right now. They've got a brand new stadium. They've got a really good roster entering the season. And I think Josh Elander is a decent baseball coach, but you're going to see it slip because Tony Vitello was just phenomenal at acquiring talent, developing talent, and managing it. And it's just, as I've said many times, the guy next to the guy is very rarely the guy.
Yep. Josh
Josh Elander doesn't have no chance. He just, to me, doesn't have as good a chance as Tony Vitello. So I think Tennessee slips a little bit, and they're closer to 4th or 5th, 6th, 7th in the SEC as opposed to 1 or 2, which is where they certainly are right now.
It's big shoes to fill. That's just naturally what's going to happen. So what if Tony V comes back as Arkansas coach when DVH retires in 2 to 3 years?
It's not a terrible pair of dots to connect. Like, Dave Van Horn is close to the end of his coaching career. Still doing a great job. Still got a great team. I mean, that team they had this past year was really, really, really good. I think LSU fans know that. It's fun to make fun of them because of their exit in Omaha.
They choke a lot.
They were really good. I was scared of them, frankly. And LSU went up there and beat them twice. But Vitello worked there, and it's not like he's a Tennessee alum. So if Elander's doing a pretty good job and the Giants fire Vitello after 2.5 years, which is likely, yeah, I mean, if that job's open, Arkansas would be foolish not to call him and hire him. I know that they hate him right now. They wouldn't if he came. It's like, for Louisville fans, probably not big Rick Pitino fans.
Yeah.
He's coach of Kentucky, won national championships, probably don't like him. Well, he comes to you, wins a national championship for you, you change your tune a little bit. So, yeah, I think that that's not an unrealistic thought.
Okay. So what if LSU loses the Clemson game in 2020? Who is our coach today?
I think Brian Kelly's just been fired. I don't think that changed the timeline at all at Ogeron winning it, because he got fired in 2021 after winning it in 2019. So he wasn't, I mean, even if you lose the Clemson game, you've got the COVID 2020 season, whatever.
Yeah, that's a wash.
It's not going to, he wasn't going to and then I don't think that he would have been fired more quickly than he was. So I don't think there's any change if you didn't win the national championship. You just wouldn't have had the claim to the greatest team ever.
If I'm not mistaken, was that 21 season, was that the TJ Finley, Max Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that was.
Well, I mean, the COVID season had TJ Finley, and then you had Max Johnson. The next year was your quarterback in 2021 when O got fired.
Okay. What if oh Lord, I don't like this one. What if BK replaced Matt House after the Ole Miss game in 2023? I don't like seeing House name.
I don't think that would have changed anything either, because you lost the opener to Florida State, and then you lost the game against Ole Miss. So now you're making the change at that point.
Embarrassing.
And the only other loss you had after that was Alabama. And I still think you would have lost because Jaden Daniels got targeted and got knocked out of the game. Yeah. So, Dallas Turner, what a ridiculous. How that was not ruled targeting, I'll never know. Forcible contact, crown of the helmet, head and neck area, ridiculous. And nobody blew the whistle on targeting. I have no idea how. But I don't think it changes. I think LSU finishes with the same record.
What if the Friends writer didn't cheat us out of Joey and Phoebe being a couple?
Well, then we wouldn't have had Paul Rudd, which was a great part of the show.
Such a good actor.
And I'll tell you this, what it would have done was it would have hopefully eliminated the episodes. There was like 3 of them where Joey and Rachel were an item. I can't watch them. I cannot watch those. It's just not. It's just bad. I prefer. I need Ross and Rachel. I do not need Joey and Rachel. When those, I can't watch this. I don't even know what happens in those episodes. I've seen them a few times, but it's been many, many years. So I would have been okay with Phoebe and Joey, but that'd have been. It had weird kids.
Cassie doesn't agree. Cassie's over here disgusted. Okay, what if we hired Lane Kiffin, who kept Frank Wilson and Corey Raymond, didn't hire Coach O as a D-line coach?
Again, like, if we're going to be wild with hypotheticals and talk about Dave Van Horn retiring, Tony Vitello taking over for him, that's not that crazy. It's not that crazy for LSU to hire Lane Kiffin. If LSU hired Lane Kiffin, I would be flat stunned if Frank Wilson wasn't on that staff. I mean, stunned. Like, I think it's. I mean, Frank Wilson worked for him at Tennessee. I'm confident Frank Wilson would be on the staff. He would be nuts to let Corey Raymond walk. One coach just did that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Ed Ogeron just told you he'd be open to being the defensive line coach. Yeah. So, LSU's had, let's see, let me count and carry the 70 of them in the last 5 years. So, if you think, hang out for a little bit, I don't think that's the most ridiculous hypothetical I've ever heard of.
No.
And I think that would be a pretty good base to a staff. Now, you got to have a good offensive coordinator with Lane Kiffin. They got Charlie Weiss right now, who's, by the way, the highest paid offensive coordinator in the SEC.
Oh, wow.
And then he's got Pete Golding at defensive coordinator. Golding is a Hammond native who's recruited Louisiana a lot. He would maybe take him. Like, again, it's a what if segment. I'm not forecasting what's happening, but if Lane Kiffin got the job, it's easy to start to point to some of the guys who could theoretically follow him to Baton Rouge.
Nah, I think it is crucial though to keep Corey Raymond. You can't lose DJ Pickett. Just can't lose DJ Pickett.
He's good.
What if Frank Wilson went 3-1? Would he be a lock for the head coaching job?
No, I don't think so. I mean, 1 win's guaranteed. You got the Western Kentucky game.
Yeah.
So if you get the 2 other wins, let's just call it at Oklahoma and against Arkansas. I just don't think that's going to be a lock-in to give him the job. It's a rare case when interim coaches get jobs. Sometimes it has to be a very random, an interesting situation like Tennessee with Tony Vitello, where he left in a very odd spot in the calendar. Yeah. 3-1, I don't think so. I think Frank would have to go 4-0 to be considered, and I still don't know that would tilt the scales.
And that's all we have for What If Wednesday.
All right, I'll scroll through the Bayou Ford chat and see. what if the team finishes 9-3 and miraculously makes the playoff? Does that make the decision tougher? That's in that same line of thinking with Frank. Look,
that would be a miracle.
I'm not going to rule that out. It would be amazing if they did that. And, I mean, I don't think there's anybody suggesting this team is completely devoid of talent.
Oh, no.
I mean, the team that Ed Ogeron took over, we were talking to Colin Jeter about it yesterday. The team Ed Ogeron took over, let me try to do this off the top of my head, but it had Leonard Fournette, Darius Geis, Malachi Dupree, DJ Chark, Tre'Davious White, Kendall Beckwith, Arden Key, Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a loaded team with NFL dudes on that roster. So it's not like out of the question. This is not like, I can't act like I watched one play of this game, by the way, but I'm guessing UAB has no talent. Like they were one of the worst teams in college football this year. And like Trent Dilfer got fired and they beat Memphis.
Yeah.
Like that, nobody could have forecasted that. You can forecast Ed Ogeron's LSU team beating Missouri. You can forecast them playing with teams down. They had pros all over that team, and this team has got some good players. Are they as good as we thought they were going to be August 15th? I don't think so. I think the offensive line's worse. I think the defense is not quite as good. I think the pass rush is not as good as I thought it was going to be. The wide receivers have not made the plays we thought they might. Maybe that's because the quarterback is a little bit compromised. They're not what we thought they were, but they've got some talent for sure. All right, let me look through the Bayou Ford chat for a little bit more. This is one's directly talking to me, so I'll see what it says. Bill Go Baggins. Hunt is only saying it's more embarrassed because of the amount of times he's made fun of Texas A&M and Texags, and they are probably doing the gritty on his internet grave. There's a degree of that, yes. But I'm open about that. It's not like if Alabama comes in here and lays the wood to you like they did in 2020, like that's a program that does that to people. Like, okay, Texas A&M doesn't do that to anybody.
Yeah.
Texas A&M got taken to the wire by Arkansas. They got taken to the wire in Kyle Field by Auburn. They got taken to the wire by Notre Dame as well. Like, it's not like this team, this is not 2019 LSU. This is not 2020 Bama. Like, I've seen LSU get worked in that stadium. Steve Spurrier came in there and smoked LSU twice. One time I was there, one time I wasn't, but I was there for the 2001 one. You're not stunned by that. They beat the brakes off everybody. Texas A&M doesn't do this to anyone. So, that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to me to watch that fan base come into Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night and do all that garbage. That's embarrassing. I don't know how else to say that. I'm not hiding that. A&M fans would look you straight in the face and feel completely confident saying, yeah, well, we're different now because we got Elko and we're about to be a dynasty.
Yes.
And that's fine if they feel that way. They've still won absolutely zero. Nothing. So that's embarrassing to me. For me to look at that, LSU has been what they've been in college football, and Texas A&M has been what they've been in college football, and for them to come in there and do all that goofy garbage in the end zone and laugh at you is ridiculous to me. So yeah, it's the worst I've ever seen in Tiger Stadium. It just is.
And you know what?
You got a bunch of those fans hunched over, looking at those yell leaders doing whoop stuff. That's embarrassing. I don't care who you are. It just is. I can't look at it. In
the same way how you feel, the higher-ups feel the same exact way, the fact that they had to let Brian Kelly go after that. The same way you feel, how you felt about that, they felt the same exact way because that was embarrassing. Seeing Marcel Reed score a touchdown and tripping out in the end zone like he goes to LSU, I was like, all right. And the team didn't back it up. So, no, changes had to be made. That was embarrassing.
All right. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back and close out the hour next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carver and his team, phenomenal folks to work with. They can get you into a captive. If you're a bigger business that's really hurting with your insurance bottom line, you've got good loss history, you've got good risk management, but you feel like you're hurting every year when that renewal comes and every month when that bill is due. Well, I can't promise you fit into a captive, but you won't know unless you talk to Jonathan Carbo and the team at the Highland Insurance Group. If it's never been brought to your attention before, not every broker can do it. Not every broker has the capability of getting your business into a captive, and it can be a game changer. It's a different way to handle your insurance. So reach out to Jonathan Carbo and his team at HighlandIG.com and say, hey, heard Hunt talking about captives, renewals coming up. I got to look at another option. It takes some time, takes some due diligence to see if you do fit into a captive, but if you do, the Highland Insurance Group is happy to make that change for you, and it could make a ton of difference for your business. So reach out at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Looking to get in the pool of your dreams, outdoor kitchen you've always wanted, builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. Closing up hour number 1 here. Frank Wilson was on the SEC coaches teleconference for the first time this morning and was asked about Whit Weeks. And Frank's answer was, I'm paraphrasing here, that, hey, he's not practicing right now, but we got some good news with diagnostics and the prognosis on Monday. And there's possibility he could potentially play in the game against Alabama. Y'all know that Whit went out of the Ole Miss game with that bone bruise, ankle, foot area. Tried to give it a go against South Carolina, then has sat the last 2 weeks in losses to Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. And obviously LSU could certainly use him back. I've been asked a couple times, like, how much difference would Whit Weeks make for Pavia running around, for Marcel Reed running around, and all that kind of stuff. And my answer is this. It's that he helps. Does he stop him? No. Is he the reason? Is his injury the reason LSU's defense is taking steps back? No. It's deeper than that. It's not just one guy in the middle that's making all the difference. But he would help. There's no question. Whit Weeks is the captain of this defense. He's third-year player. He's an emotional leader. He's an excellent athlete. He's a high-energy guy who holds people accountable. You want him on the field. And he'll take this week off from practice. I'm confident he will not practice at all this week. He's been in that walking boot. He was in a walking boot on Saturday night. So I don't suggest that that's really close to coming back. But you do have some time between now and the Alabama game. And Whit's one of those guys that doesn't need a ton of practice reps. He would like to get them, obviously, if he could. But he's been in Blake Baker's defense now for a couple of years. He's told us personally in interviews that, like, hey, I know this defense like the back of my hand. I know the calls. I know where to be. I know where West is going to be. I know where Harold's going to be. I know what the guys in front of me are doing. He's very comfortable with what he's doing out there. So it's not a guy that needs a ton of reps. He can get some mental reps. They've got those VRs that I shouldn't say VR. I don't think everybody knows what that stands for. Every time he's got the virtual reality stuff that he can use. And so it would help. And this is what I know about Whit. Whit is incredibly competitive. He's incredibly passionate, and he wants to be out there. And I'm sure that it's eating him up not to be out there on the field. So it's way, way, way too early to suggest that Whit's going to play against Alabama. I think it's probably less than a 50% chance he plays in the game against Alabama, but I don't think it's zero. Like, I would have told you it was zero entering the game against Vanderbilt. I was comfortable that was zero. I don't think it's zero for Alabama. And they could really use him because Alabama is going to run the football. And they just need him. In this time for this LSU team, you need emotion. You need passion. You need people to hold other people accountable. Because you realize that when the head coach is removed, that allows everyone to kind of start to have a wandering eye. The coaches know my time is probably up here. There could be holdovers. Who knows? But my time is probably up here. The players, if you're a senior, you know your time's up here and that your goals are off the table from a team perspective. If you're a freshman, you haven't played, and you feel like you want to get a fresh start, you know that your head is in a different place. Like, you got eyes on the NFL and maybe doing things from that perspective. And Whit, I'm not saying Whit can step in and fix all that. He can't. But I think that he would help with some of that. That's the read I get from Whit. That's the read I get from the way that the players respond to him. I have not talked to anybody on or off the record at LSU, players, coaches. I've not talked to anybody that doesn't respect Whit Weeks, that doesn't love to be around Whit Weeks. And, like, how could you not? I mean, y'all have seen videos of him in interviews. Maybe some of y'all have interacted with him. He does a lot of stuff around the city. He's just a lot of fun. He's just a big smiling dude. And not a lot to smile about in that football office building right now, but I promise you, if Whit Weeks is in there right now, he's probably got a big smile on his face because that's just the way he's wired. And I think there's something to that because there's more than just football with LSU right now, right? Like, there's an emotional component to this that is hard to quantify. And Whit Weeks helps it. And so hopefully he can come back. I mean, Devon Keys has played a lot. Devon Keys has been fairly productive. Devon Keys is not Whit Weeks right now. Tylen Singleton, heck of an athlete, easing his way into action. He's not Whit Weeks right now. And Whit's not perfect, but he's productive. It's a guy that, if he had played all 12 games this year, would have come up with over 100 tackles. So if they can possibly get him back on the field in that game in Tuscaloosa, that'd be a huge boon for LSU's defense, and hopefully that's the case. Frank Wilson said they're optimistic with what they saw. They're going to keep giving him treatment. They're going to keep monitoring things, and we're still a full week away from LSU's first injury update, their first availability report for the game against Alabama. But hopefully Whit Weeks can give it a go in Tuscaloosa, because I think that would be a big help to what LSU's trying to get accomplished there in T-Town. That's our first hour here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. You missed any of it, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. There was a lot to get to. We opened the show today talking about 5 coaches that I do not believe are going to be the pick for LSU. You can find that on YouTube, wherever you find your podcast at Hunt on LSU. You can also read that segment in column form over at LouisianaSports.net for free. Hunt on LSU is where all our LSU content goes. We've got a ton of Saints stuff, as well as SEC stuff, as well as national stuff to get to in the second hour. JD Piquel is going to be with us in 20 minutes. He's the host of the Hard Count on 3. We're going to talk all national storylines with him. JD picked LSU to win the national championship. So I want to talk to him about that, why, and what he thinks went wrong from afar. We'll get some thoughts on the national games to come this weekend as well. SEC football power rankings coming your way in 35 minutes. Where are the Tigers? Is there a change to the top spot? You all saw A&M, a lot of you in person on Sunday. Where do they end up in this week's power rankings? And we'll start off hour number 2 with a little bit of Saints talk here. I'm excited to get into that and what the expectations could be for Tyler Shough. Is Cesar Ruiz tradable? Ross Jackson wrote about it. We'll talk about it. We'll pause for national headlines with SportsCenter and come back with more. It's a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.